Good morning. This is GbaramatuVoiceTV reaching you from the Niger Delta Media Centre located in the heart of Ogono, Warri, Delta State. Yes, today is the 3rd day of February 2025, and today is another special edition of Beyond the Headlines, where we give you stories, we give you in-depth analysis of the stories regarding the Nigerian newspaper and that of the Niger Delta region. Yes, Berstolo is my name, and I have my colleague with me in the studio this morning.
Yes, good morning to you this special morning. My name is Sheriff David Dieprie, and this morning we'll be giving you our newspaper review on our Beyond the Headline. So my colleague, you're looking very beautiful, very calm this morning. How are you feeling?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Please make sure to stay tuned and do not go anywhere. You are here. Make sure to stay till the end of the program.
Yes, good morning. So this morning we are going to be giving you a newspaper review on what is happening around us. So we are going to be starting with the Nation's newspaper this morning. First Bank of Nigeria. Why banks cannot comply with order lifting restrictions on GHL accounts. Presidency to Atiku, El-Rufai, Obi, others will meet in 2027. GHL. First Bank of Nigeria alleged appeal of order lifting Mareva abuse of court process. The story of Ayuba Bello, how OP scholarship sustained a family's livelihood. That's all we're having for you this morning on the Nation newspaper.
Yes, quickly, I'll be talking on New Telegraph newspaper. Trump. Nigerians in US go spiritual. Send families to mosques, churches for prayers. Now you can get that details on page 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph newspaper. NIBSS. More Nigerians go cashless as POS terminals rise by 127% to 5.56 million. Now you will get more details on page 3 of the New Telegraph newspaper. NCDC activates emergency measures as Uganda confirms Ebola outbreak. Again, Lassa fever breaks out in Plateau, kills 2. Now you get more supporting details on page 4 and 5 of the New Telegraph newspaper. 30 die in Ondo auto crash as gunmen kill 10 in Ebonyi. That you would get on page 30 of the New Telegraph newspaper. 2027, PDP travels familiar paths as leadership crisis puts party at risk of implosion. Now you get that details on page 9, 10, and 11 of the New Telegraph newspaper. And lastly, election winners. Lawyers push against tribunalization of democracy. Now you're going to get more of these details on page 14 and 16 of the New Telegraph newspaper. And that is all I have for you on the New Telegraph newspaper.
Yes, that's a very good one. You have heard from my colleague this morning as she has given you insights on the New Telegraph newspaper. So we're moving forward to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. First Bank of Nigeria. Why banks cannot comply with order lifting restrictions on GHL accounts. Under that same Nigerian Tribune newspaper, you can read about that on page 4 of the Nigerian, on page 6 rather, of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. 2027, Northern leaders, coalition proponents, rights of PDP. Ex-military leaders, other stakeholders endorse coalition. Proponents may announce new platform late February. Leaders yet to agree On presidential standard bearer, LND playing lead roles. Tinubu not worried by gathering of opposition. We can read more details about all this on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Moving forward, 30 passengers burnt to death in Ondo crash. We can read about this on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Lagos speakership, Tinubu not reinstating Obasa. We can read about that on page 23 of the Tribune newspaper. Middle-aged man killed in Ibadan. Police launch manhunt for killers. We can read about that on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Lastly, no positive orders made on court processes to bind banks on GHL. We can read about this also on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Thank you very much.
Yes, quickly, I'll be talking on the Punch newspaper. The story of Ayuba Bello, how Ope's scholarship sustained a family's livelihood. Now you will see more details on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. Electricity tariff hike looms as federal government plans to end subsidy. You would also get more supporting details on page 29 of the Punch newspaper. Why banks cannot lift order defreezing GHL's accounts, First Bank. You'll see more details on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. Dangote Praj slash. Marketers with imported fuel fear losses. Dealers say stiff competition forces Dangote refinery price slash to $8.90 per litre. Now you would get more of these details on page 29 of the Punch newspaper. NCDC tightens airport surveillance as Uganda battles Ebola. Now you'd get more of these details on page 40 of the Punch newspaper. And lastly, I believe Ladoja has information on Bola Ige's murder, said by Akonde. Now you would get more of these details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And that is all I have for you on the Punch newspaper.
That's very good. You have heard from my colleague as she has read the Punch newspaper this morning. So we're moving forward to the Guardian newspaper. Stay tuned. First Bank of Nigeria. Why banks cannot comply with order lifting restrictions on GHL's account. That is under the Guardian newspaper. The story of Ayuba Bello. How Ope scholarship sustained the family's livelihood. We can read about that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Anxiety over oil output. Exploration at 55 licenses expires this year. We can read about that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. State governors and lustful appetite for more airports. You can read about that on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Obasa's ousting divides APC as factions battle for control. We can read about that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Experts, CDWR, fault electricity, telecom tariffs hike. We can read about that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Telcos prepare 50% tariff hike set for rollout in March. We can read about that on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Second to the last, Obi decries plight of pensioners, calls for women leadership. We can read about that on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Owando announces 65.5 billion naira profit, 4.1 trillion revenue in 2024. We can read about that on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. Lastly, what we'll be having for you this morning on the Guardian newspaper: Unilag chapter plans protest at Southwest. MD can begin strike today. We can read about that on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Thank you very much for your time. That's all we'll be having for you this morning on the Guardian newspaper.
Yes, quickly, I'll be reviewing the Daily Trust newspaper. 30 dead, 2 injured in Ondo auto crash. NLC, a nationwide strike against telcos, tariff hike and error. Stakeholders said by stakeholders. Oil marketers now loading petrol from Port Harcourt, Warri refineries. Federal government plans fresh electricity tariff hike. Consumers react. Now, lastly, Muslims in Southwest have rights to set up Sharia panels. That's all we have for you on the Daily Trust newspaper.
Moving forward, you have heard from my colleague as she has read the Daily Trust newspaper. So we'll be reviewing this day newspaper this morning. Trade war: Canada, Mexico, China set to retaliate Trump's sweeping tariffs. We can read about that on page 5 of this day newspaper. FG alerts Nigerians, activates emergency measures following Ebola outbreak in Uganda. We can read about this on page 5 of this day newspaper. First Bank admits defeat in Mareva case, 6 appeal without due process. GHL sees desperation. We can read about that on page 5 of this day newspaper. Court stops customs from collecting excise duty on non-alcoholic carbonated beverages. We can read about that on page 5 also on this day newspaper. Second to the last, declares Ministry of Finance circular null and void. Stops customs from collecting transport feeding allowances from NECA. Lastly, Owando release 2024 financial results, gross revenue to 4.1 trillion naira. We can read about that on page 4 of this day newspaper. That's all we're having for you this morning on this day newspaper. Thank you.
Yes, lastly, before we go into in-depth analysis of news stories, I'll be reviewing the Vanguard newspaper. FBN: why banks cannot comply with order lifting restrictions on GHL's account. Now you get the story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Oil marketers expand borrowings by 76.5% to 3.0 trillion naira. Profit up 49.9% to 420.9 billion naira. As their cost of doing business rises 78.9% to 156.9 billion naira. Revenue rises 57.9% to 5.3 trillion naira. Analysts/economic experts link situation to deregulation. say investors are up to higher dividend. The regulation had been very costly to businesses, citizens, Dr. Yusuf. Now you'd get more of that story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Telecom tariff hike. Federal government meets NLC leaders over tomorrow's protest. Now, it continues on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. 28 passengers burned to death in Ondo auto crash. Now you get more of those details on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria, Africa under pressure as Trump slams tariff on Canada, Mexico, China. Now you get more of these details on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Again, First Bank abuses court process, GHL. It continues on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. And lastly, Nasima NECA slam presidential aide for threatening fresh electricity tariff hike. Now you are going to get more of those details on page 35 of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's go on the short break quickly, and when we come back, we'll go into full in-depth analysis of our various newspaper story, and that's regarding the Niger Delta region. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube at GbaramatuVoice. And if you want more detailed story, visit our website www.gbaramatuvoicenews.com. Yes, welcome back from that short break. Stay tuned with us. Stay from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. It promises to be educative and entertaining as well. We don't do boring news over here. Yes, quickly we'll be going into full details of today's business.
Yes, that's a very good one this morning. So we'll be reviewing, we'll be giving you in-depth analysis on the newspapers we have read this morning. And we'll be working on the Daily Trust newspaper. So I'll start. FG plans fresh electricity tariff hike. The federal government says plans are ongoing to increase electricity tariffs over the next few months. It, however, said that the planned increase needed to be balanced by subsidies for less affluent electricity users. So they're actually talking about they want to be an increase in tariff hike, which is talking about electricity tariff hike, which means there's going to be an increase in power supply. Okay, not everybody is really happy about this phenomenon. Not everybody is happy about this situation because a lot of people are still finding it hard to at least take care of themselves for their daily basis. So now that there's going to be an increase in power supply, people are not going to find it very funny, and it's going to increase issues in things that we are going to be doing. Bloomberg quoted the special advisor to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on energy, Olu Vejen, has given this hint at the Africa Heads of State Energy Summit in Tanzania, where Nigeria presented 32 billion plan to expand electricity connection by 2030. In this situation, the Nigeria Telecom House has presented over 32 billion for them to increase and expand electricity. It's not really funny again because people are believing that there's going to be a reduction in electricity power supply, but now there's going to be an increase. So it's not really okay. People are not finding it happy. So a lot of people have come together to see that they are going to talk to the government for them to reduce this tariff hike, because things are no longer funny. I don't know if you're understanding. So that's the situation that is on ground. So despite the fact that there has been an increase in this power supply, people are not still having light in their house. Businesses are still experiencing what we call low power supply. So people are not finding it funny again. So that is why people have come together for them to see that this initiative will not going to work. Just last week, Nigerians have been complaining about the telecom hike, the increase in data, the increase in WhatsApp messages, the increase, and so things are not really funny. So now they also want to make an increase in power supply. So people that are not even able to probably sub their phone, people who are not able to buy a recharge card on their phone, now those same people will start complaining about the power supply hike. So things are not really funny. So
In fact, I think it's actually going to it's going to raise operational costs.
Yes.
People that are doing businesses now, if obviously there's an increase in electricity, it will definitely cost, the operational cost will go up, because people that are actually running maybe a small scale business or even a large scale business, they'll be depending on generator, making use of generator to run their whatever they are selling, their goods, their shop as well. So if they are actually running on generator and any other form of electricity, it will definitely be on a high side, because now we know that as of Saturday, the price of fuel has actually been slashed, but still running on that cost, buying fuel every day just to make sure your goods are intact, it will tell a lot on it will tell a lot on people that has small businesses or even large business. So the operational cost will really be high. So it's not a good one at all.
Yes, it's not really a good one at all. People are not happy about it. From just last week, we are complaining about telecom tariff hike, which means there's going to be an increase on data usage, there's going to be an increase on airtime usage. So ever since that hike, people has been complaining. The Nigerian Labour Congress has spoken through the Nigerian Communication Congress also to address this issue, but that is still on board. They've not been able to tackle that issue, and now they are coming again to say that the federal government plans to increase power supply. So it's not really funny, it's not really okay. So we're trying to see how the government are going to come together for them to reduce this, so that the common man will be able to benefit from it. Because according to my colleague, many businesses, they run using, they prefer using power supply, which is light. But now that there's going to be an increase on NEPA bill, people are going to run to start using generator to power their businesses, to preserve the goods and services that they're having in their business. So now that people are going to be running down to using petrol, and petrol, there's already an increase in petrol. How would they balance this situation? How would they manage this situation? So Nigerians are not happy. Nigerians are in pain. So that's the situation that is on ground now. So we pray and we hope that there's going to be a solution, a quick solution, not just a solution.
No,
there's going to be a quick solution
sorry
to
for
this.
cutting. I actually feel instead of just the sudden and quick increase, it can actually be increased gradually.
Yes.
At least to ease the process, instead of just putting this bill upon us, it can actually be increased gradually, and then you understand, we can follow suit. That is just like my suggestion. And then consumers should be billed based on how they are consuming electricity, not just putting outrageous bill on them that this is what they should pay. So if there is like a consistent light, yes, you can be billed for that. But if the light is inconsistent, I don't think it is a reality. We should be able to tax them according to how the light is being consistent, and all of that. So
that's the way it is now. That's the way it is. So in Nigeria now, most parts of Nigeria, not only the rural area, even some urban areas, they don't see these lights. They don't see, they are not being, they don't feel as if somebody is taking care of them. They are not feeling this impact of power supply. So now that you want to also make an increase in this power supply, they are not finding it happy. They are not finding it, they are not feeling like the government cares for them. Because if the government cares for them, they are going to first provide this light for the people to see that there's light. That's when you can also think of how you are going to make an increase in this power supply. But now people are not seeing this light at all. People are not seeing, they are not seeing the impact of this light on their business. They are not seeing the impact on this light on everything that they are doing. So why the increase in this power supply? So it's not really funny. It's not really funny. The tariff hike is still there. Now we are already moving into power supply hike. So it's not funny at all. If there should be a need for this increase, according to my colleague, they should take it step by step, process by process, so that the people too, they will be happy about this situation, not just to just come overnight
And they'll be
just
ready to towards
adapt.
any form
Yes,
of increase that will come up
yes,
later on, not just imposing it on them.
yeah. So
So
that's the
yes,
situation on
that's
ground now. We just pray and we hope that things are going to change. So Nigerians should exercise some patience. We believe things are going to fall into the right place. Besides, this is a new month, and with this new phenomenon that is coming up, we pray that things are going to go very well. So that's the issue.
yes. Okay, that's for that. Quickly, I'll be talking on the Punch newspaper. I'll be referring the Punch newspaper, the lead story on the Punch newspaper. Dangote price slash, marketers with imported fuel fear losses. Now, just reading few paragraph for you to get like an insight of the story. The decision by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery to reduce the ex-depot price of premium motor spirit petrol on Saturday night came at huge cost to many petroleum marketers, the Punch reports. Marketers who spoke to our correspondent said the sudden price reduction by the Dangote refinery must have been occasioned by the recent warnings that some traders were planning to resort to importation if the foreign PMS remains cheaper than the ex-depot prices of locally refined products. Yes, quickly, as we all know, it's no news. As at yesterday, the fuel price was actually reduced. There was a significant reduction from 950, which was it was initially sold, to 890, thereby having like a 60 naira reduction difference on Saturday. Now, marketers allegedly said this decrease might have come with the fact that they said they were going to be importing fuel, since importation of crude oil will be cheaper than the one we are having in our local refineries. The one Dangote refinery is actually selling to them. So they felt this reduction was actually triggered by what they had in mind. And you know, the price reduction will significantly lower the cost of petrol across the country, thereby generating positive effect throughout the broader economy. Now, marketer said is going to like have a significant change, well, positively and negatively as well. It has like two changes. It will have like the positive impact. It will also have the negative impact as well. And you know, now the negative impact, most of the marketers must have purchased before the news was actually talked about on Saturday. Before they heard the news, most of the marketers must have, you know, purchased some products maybe on Friday. And you know, if they had actually purchased with the initial price that was there, it will obviously cause like a significant loss to them, because there is no how you would purchase at the rate of 950 and now every other person is selling for 890, unless you want to have like old stocks in your hands in your market. So there is no how, in as much you're seeing that, oh, everybody's already selling for like 890, you would want to adapt. Unless you want to stay backwards, you don't want to move with the trend. There is no how, you're obviously not going to move with the trend. So that is what like the marketers are actually clamoring, saying it's definitely going to tell on them. It's actually going to bring like a great loss to their businesses, because they must have spent millions of nairas purchasing a particular amount of fuel with 950. at the rate of 950, and now with the sudden news, and like I said, there was one particular time I said sometimes these marketers, they are like one of our problems. Yes, that is what I feel, that whenever there is an increase in price, they're always happy because they know that yes, it will help them. That is their time. So, well, they said that is like one of the negative impact is obviously going to cause, and there will be a great loss. It will cause like a significant loss on their businesses. And the positive impact, though, the fact that Dangote actually heeded to their cry, it's actually a good one. It tells that's like the beauty of the competition. Dangote knows that if these marketers should go and source for imported crude oil, it will not really be good on his side. It will not be good on his side. So that's like the beauty of competition. So they felt, since they have some other how do I put it, they have other options. So if they feel they are going to be importing crude oil, and Dangote just heard and felt like, oh, there needs to be like a reduction, is actually the beauty of competition in the market. So it's actually a positive impact. And decrease transportation cost. Obviously the price of transportation will be reduced automatically, because the price of fuel is now, at least there is like a 60 naira difference from 950 to 890, obviously. So at least there will be decrease in transportation cost. People would able to, for the meantime, because these prices are actually fluctuating. From today we hear price of fuel is 890, and then tomorrow you hear price of fuel is 1000. So it's actually fluctuating, but at least for now, we the consumers, we are going to enjoy it, because transportations will be a bit cheaper. And it is also going to increase economic activity, because now if transportation is easier, people will be able to move goods. There will be lots of buying and selling. People will be able to move goods from a far distance to wherever they are taking the goods to. But due to the high cost of transportations, these activities were less. They were not so, it's not how do I put it, it's the activities were not going well. We are not flowing well because of the high cost of transportation.
Yes.
But now that the price of fuel has actually reduced, there's like a significant change. Even if we are hoping for more change, we want it to go to the initial price we used to buy it. Initial price of 200 naira.
Yes,
Don't you want it to go to 200 naira?
that's the prayer.
That is what we want. But well, with the way Nigeria is going, we don't know. We are only praying to God, but at least we are heading somewhere.
Yes.
From 890, it is going to go down, reduce, and
To
reduce,
700.
and well, it is going to help everybody. Now it will help consumers a lot, because there are so many things. Transporters, they feel they are the only one that uses fuel.
Yes.
Meanwhile, there are so many people that make use of fuels in their house. So this thing is directly, indirectly affecting everybody. There was a particular day I entered keke, and it was fighting everybody. Like, it was transferring aggression, due to the increase of fuel and everything. If you don't want to enter, come out, stand up, I know they carry and all of that. And then one man had the courage to face him, and it was like, are you the only one using fuel? You transporters, you guys are thinking you are the only one making use of fuel. If we are not driving keke, or I don't have a car, that doesn't mean I don't make use of fuel. I'll make use of fuel in my house. So that is just it. Transporters are actually transferring the aggression on everybody, every other person. But one way or the other, we are making use of this product, so it will help consumers as well.
Yes.
Things will be cheap due to the cost low increase, price
Yes,
of
yes.
fuel for transportations and all of that.
Yes, you have said well. You have spoken very well, because now that there's a reduction in this price, you see a lot of people will be encouraged to travel with the belief that when you get to the station where you get your tickets, and maybe if you are paying 14,000 before, maybe it can come down to 12,000. That is an improvement.
Yes.
That's what we call progress. So people will be encouraged to import, to bring foodstuffs from the north down to the southern region. People will be encouraged to bring in goods, even services, or anywhere you are in Nigeria. So that is a progress. And I believe that since there's a what they call reduction now, and there's going to be continuous process. According to my colleague, from 890 is going to reduce to 700 to
Just like
500 to
that,
200,
we
even
are
20
hoping.
naira. We are hoping that we're able to get 1 liter for even 20 naira or 15 naira if it's possible. But since there can be a deduction, that means it is possible for it to even go down the more. So not to take much of your time, and we believe that there's going to be progress in everything that we are doing. I want to appreciate we see the government of Dangote for at least listening to the cries of Nigerians,
Yes.
and also to also see how we can also use our fuel to reduce the issues that we are having. So at least the common man will be able to eat. The transporters will be able to at least reduce the amount, because the amount we are paying for transport services is already too much. So that's how it is for what we'll be having for you this morning. So
Let's quickly, do you have any story
yes,
from the
I have
Niger Delta
a
region before we
story.
call it a day?
Yes, so we have a story. We'll be talking about issues that are revolving around the Niger Delta region. And let's move down to Bayelsa. Yes, Bayelsa residents appeal for potable water to check cholera outbreak. We'll read little for you to understand. As part of the effort to prevent the outbreak and spread of cholera, residents of Bayelsa State have called on the state government to ensure the availability of potable water for residents. I'll read more. Speaking during a roundtable organized by a non-governmental organization, Women Organized for Mentorship and Advocacy Network, Woman, participants called on authorities to address the spread of disease. So now, the issue of cholera is already rampant in Bayelsa. And places like Nembe, etc., they are facing these issues. There's no potable water for them to drink. They mostly rely on river for them to carry out their daily activities like washing of clothes.
So do they drink? They drink the water.
They drink the water. They use the water to, that same water. That's what they used to wash their clothes. After washing their clothes, they
It
throw
will
down.
obviously be infected.
Yes, the water will be infected, will be affected. So that same water that they used to wash their clothes, they throw it back inside that same river. Immediately they are pouring inside that same river, another person is using cup to fetch the water to drink. That same water is being used to cook. That same water is used for different purposes.
And I'm pretty sure there are some people that would defecate in that water as well.
A lot of people also defecate inside the water. Even when they defecate inside the bush, they come and pack that same poo, they throw it inside the water. So the water is already infected. The water is already polluted. The water is already what we call danger water. So the water is not funny at all. So now these people, they've come together to see how they can call on the government, to see how they can provide what we call potable water for the people to drink, because health is wealth. If these people, they are not healthy, that means they are not worthy.
Yes.
So they can't be complaining of a power supply issue, also be complaining of tariff hike, that is telecom tariff hike, and now also be complaining of potable water to drink. The pressure is too much. So please, the government should try to see what they can do to address the issue of the Bayelsa State people. The Bayelsa State people, they are not happy at all. That's why they've come to say Bayelsa residents appeal for potable water to check cholera outbreak. This cholera outbreak is causing what we call death. The death rate is also increasing in Bayelsa State, and is also causing
cholera
sickness.
Is not a good one.
Yeah, cholera is not a good one at all. Cholera can also be like malaria. There's also other type of diseases that we can relate cholera to. So it also affect the tummy. From tummy, you start throwing up.
Yes.
Then like that. So please, the government should try to see what they can do. He called on all stakeholders to join hands with the government to devise strategies for the prevention and control of cholera in the state. A public health educator and founder of an NGO, Comfort of the Afflicted, Mr. Anthony Orakeyi, said cholera causes persistent loss of bodily fluids accompanied by vomiting, leading to rapid dehydration and loss of essential salts. So you can see what this issue is actually causing. It's making the residents to lose salt in their system. It's causing rapid dehydration, which is the quantity of water which is supposed to be in their body system is reducing. You know, because of this cholera issue.
No access to clean water.
Yes, no access to clean water. Everybody needs water to bathe. Everybody needs water to cook. Everybody needs water to do everything that we are doing. There's nothing you can do without water. So please, water is very, very important. It's very, very essential. It's very, very crucial. So the Bayelsa State government and other government agencies, please, should try your possible best to see how you can address this issue, because people are no longer finding it funny again. Life is getting tough for them, tougher and tougher day by day. So please, they should try to see what they can do concerning this issue. So, do you have
yes, that's a very good one from my colleague, Mr. David. Obviously, the cry of the people will be heard, and you know the government. We trust the government to do something about this. Yes, thank you very much for staying tuned with us from the start of the program. And I'm sorry to tell you that this is the end of the program. Yes, this is Gbaramatu Voice reaching you from the Niger Delta Media Centre. Please don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube at Gbaramatu Voice. And if you want more detailed story, visit our website www.gbaramatuvoicenews.com. Bestolowo is my name.
And I am Sheriff David Diepriye.
Thank you.